as lovely as it is here today. However, I do hope that it is way, way, way warmer. We're at like minus 30 again. I had to sit in front of the fire because me and my husband was helping me defrost the cars. And I certainly can't, we had a dump of snow as well, and I certainly cannot go in my Sophia, so I have to use Frank. And it might, at some point you might even be able to see that it gets a little smoky because he's got a leak. He's got a leak somewhere on the exhaust or something. And sometimes it gets stinky. So I might have to actually open the window at some point. Let's hope it does not get to that. Let me just check if it's recording. Oh, yes it is. We are on. I've had so many problems this morning because of the weather. It is gorgeous. Like from when you're inside, you think, oh my gosh, it's so lovely. And then you come outside and you can't be out here more than several minutes because, okay, is it on 4x4? It's on 4x4. We do not need 4x4, especially the low, because I will. Do I have everything done up there? Yeah, I think I do. So good morning. The weather is frightening, but gorgeous. I'm going for my regular. It's been a while since I've been in the car. Actually, it's been about 2 weeks that I haven't been in the car. And I know, isn't that so crazy? Like, I just gotta say that it is pretty crazy not to drive for like 2 weeks. Although my husband did drive, and I never ever talk with you guys when anybody else is in the car. I think I've made that very clear, that I have no intention of speaking in front of anyone yet. I am just not that confident, and so I have been in a car, I just haven't been driving. Whenever me and my husband drive together, generally he's the driver. I generally don't drive him, he generally drives me. So it's been 2 weeks since I've driven, which is just insane, actually. That now that I've said it out loud, it's insane. My chicken is doing better. She is now eating. She still hasn't laid me an egg, and she's been in my little makeshift hospital in my spare room in a dog cage for now a week. She's been there a week. Her feathers are growing back. I should take a video so you guys can see what condition she's in. She's much better. But until she lays me an egg, I don't think that she's ready to get put back in slowly into the population. I'm actually thinking of putting one of my roosters in with those ladies. And I'm wondering if that's a good idea. If anybody has any experience, I would really appreciate some feedback. I will do some more research, but I will say that for the most part, I'm not sure what to do, because if I put her back into the population, they might peck at her again. But anyway, such is life. Okay, whatever. I'll figure it out. I'll keep you guys posted. Oh my goodness. It's like as if I have like something on my wheels. So weird. Anyway, I hope that this truck makes it. And so what else is new? I have discovered how to use Lightroom. I'm thrilled. I'm now starting to practice that. I'm not very proficient at it, mind you, but I am learning how to do it. I was talking to my mom, as usual. Hi, Mom. And I was telling her about what I'm doing with YouTube and so on, and we were talking, and she was, trying to advise me, or she was advising me not to take it too seriously because the competition is fierce, and that is very, very true. And, not to, take it hard. And, like, if I fail. And I think that I'm not I think I'm setting myself up in a way where I'm hopefully not going to take it too hard if I fail. But I am taking it very, very seriously. I'm taking it really, really seriously. I'm doing videos regularly. I'm staying on a, sorry, I'm not used to having these nose things, these nose things. I have to play with them until I find like a place on my nose that feels comfortable. And I'm taking it so seriously that I'm videotaping religiously. I am writing religiously. I am just really taking it very seriously, and I want to give it X amount of time that I've allotted. I want to gain sort of certain milestones, and then I'm going to obviously review if things just aren't working. I mean, you've got to cut your losses where they should be cut. Like, you shouldn't overstay in a place that's not working. So I was kind of telling her that one of the side effects of doing this is, I hope that you guys aren't getting too much sun. One of the side effects of doing this is I'm gaining skills that I never had. So for example, in anything I did in the past, I've gained skills that I can then carry over in my life to other realms. Like I could do bookkeeping, I know how to do 2 programs because of what I learned. And this program, like Premiere Pro and Lightroom, anyone can go on YouTube and learn kind of how to use certain functions, but you actually have to get proficient if you're going to be able to offer a service. So one thing I'm really excited about is I'm starting to discover Lightroom on top of Premiere Pro. I don't know why I'm getting on this tangent, but the whole idea of learning new skills while I'm on this adventure of really trying to be, I guess, a YouTuber and making income. And yeah, and then we were just talking about that kind of thing, and I don't know why I meandered on that, but that was my day yesterday, and I realized that new skills are only learned when you make a pivot and go in another direction that might be scary or might not be. I mean, it depends on your personality. But for me, computer is usually very scary. Anyway, and that segues me not very smoothly, but it segues me into reading. Reading, I haven't been a prolific reader because I need silence when I'm reading. And I have been so good right now with my walks, with my reading, my writing. I am, and every day I feel I'm improving. And I jumped onto this new adventure because it's something that I've wanted to do for years, as you guys know. And I'm giving it a real shot. And I got onto this book. I think I mentioned it in my other videos, and it's called Behold a Pale Horse. Oh my gosh. So I realized that many years ago, about 25 years ago or so, I started on an adventure that, again, I started benefiting from, but it wasn't like, how do I say this? It wasn't not that it wasn't intended, because obviously I went in that direction, I went on that path, but it wasn't something that I planned like YouTube, right? It wasn't something that, like, even reading, it wasn't something like that where I said, okay, where the heck is a foot? Yeah, I gotta get my feet, because it's freezing. Sorry, it's like I gotta warm up a little bit. It might be a little louder because I'm turning the heater on a little bit. Generally, I don't need the heater, but when it's this cold and you're driving, it's crazy. And I didn't realize where this journey was going to take me. And so if I start from the end, I would say this journey took me to the sticks, and it ended me up in a place where I've been wanting to try YouTube for a very long time. But I didn't realize that learning the way that the world really truly works, not the matrix of the world, but the world outside of the matrix, how it really works, that it would lead me to a place like right now. What is it called? What's the word? The not compilation, the accumulation, anyway, I'll think of it when I'm probably done the video. The whole entirety of my journey has led me here, exactly here. And the reason why is because I started waking up to the truths, or what I perceive as the truths of how the world runs. And what I started to realize while I was living in the South is that as I continued to choose, because it's a choice, you have to choose the pill. You do have to choose the pill. It's very indicative of, or it's very true what the Matrix says. You have to choose to swallow that red pill. If you do not choose to swallow the red pill, you are blue pilled every second of every day in your life. And it is imperative that you are blue pilled in order for the powers that orchestrate this matrix around us to be able to successfully keep you asleep. So as I journeyed through these incremental decisions that led me to this moment in my life, I realized that I am feeling alone, relatively alone. I don't feel alone because my husband is, I have my family. But I feel maybe figurative, it's maybe not literal, but to some extent it's literal too. There's a sense of loneliness, a sense of being lonely amongst billions. Like, I don't know if anybody has ever felt this way, where they're around, say, 100 people or 50 people or whatever the number is, and you have absolutely nothing to really truly honestly have in common with, in the sense that, yes, okay, there's the commonality of being human, and there's the commonality of being able to talk about the weather, having the same language, those kind of things. There is similarities, but what I mean is when you want to speak about something such as the world that has been pulled over our eyes, and that we are in a con job, you can't, I feel that I can't have that conversation with 99% of the people around me. I offend them, I agitate them with my, I don't know if they would be beliefs or my views. I would say they're my views, because I believe that there is enough evidence that it's no longer a belief as much as it is a hidden truth, because I do believe it's a truth. So with that sort of primer, I kind of wanted to share with you how I got here, what started me on this path. And I would very much love it if there were people out there who, if they have stumbled or sought out this path, how it was that they stumbled on it, or why it was, what was the catalyst that made you search and hunt for this truth that is so very what is the word? So intricately weaved. It is so important that we are kept asleep. It is so important that we believe the world that is unfolding in front of us as the truth. And I would argue that if you look deeply, intently, you see the cracks, and when you are able to push open through those cracks, you see a very, very different and devastatingly obvious truth. So how did I get on this path? How did I find this little tiny little sliver of a path in the forest of lies? I would say that it started when the world always sort of I never really fit in. Let's just put it that way. I want to start with the fact that I've always been a black sheep. I've always been, and I've talked about this in other videos, I've always been a person that has I've never been happy with beating to the same drum that everybody else is beating. I always seek out my own drum, my own rhythm, whether it's in style, whether it's in what people are doing, whether it was in my grade school or my high school. I questioned my high school teachers because I was terrified to question my grade school teachers. I was just still very young. But I questioned my teachers because I would never understand why we were learning like stupid shit that I thought, okay, all right, we're learning this. Okay, I get it. But I don't understand why we're learning it. And any time, it really started when I was in high school, when I started asking teachers, when, sir or madam, will we use this in our life? I understood math. Not that I was good at it. I sucked at it, just for the record. I understood the function of language. I understood the function of spelling, writing, reading. I understood the function of home ec classes. I understood the function of even gym. Physical education, I totally understood that. I understood that we as human beings need movement. So these are things that made sense to me. These are things that I didn't feel I needed to question my teachers as to why we were learning it. And I guess the first inkling for me was when I questioned and I pressed a teacher, and I can't remember what class it was. And I remember the teacher said to me something very unsatisfactory where I thought, wow, either this person is full of crap, this is what I remember thinking, or they don't know themselves. And this teacher basically said, because it's in the curriculum, that's why you're learning it. And I remember thinking, that's interesting. So I guess we take orders from the teachers and the teachers take orders from someone else. Okay, well, I kind of let that be. I was into fashion, and my fashion was always like way off center. Like it was way off popular. Like I was never afraid to wear what I wanted to wear when I wanted to wear it, and I didn't care that it was the oddball thing to do. So I was always like this weird one. And in my family, I would say, sorry, Mom, I would say I was the black sheep. I would say I was the one that was always bucking. I was the one that was always not allowing my parents to, my parents told me what to do, and there was a certain level of threshold that I would do what they wanted me to do. But then I came to like a ceiling where if they would tell me to do something and I did not see the logic in it and I did not agree, I found my own path. And that's just the way that I was. So I was a black sheep. And I've never really been afraid of, I've been afraid of consequence because consequence is a thing. But I've never been afraid to try something, and as long as it doesn't hurt me extremely hurt me. Like, I don't know if I would have the strength, you know, to like stand up and get put to jail, especially now that I have my own family and stuff like that. But part of me feels that I have a ceiling, a level of appreciation for respecting authority. But then when the authority ceases to make sense for me, like if my parents said, because I told you so, that was unacceptable. Unacceptable to me. It was unacceptable. It's been unacceptable to me. I don't feel that I've said that to my children, because I think that for me, that's a cop-out. It's in the curriculum kind of answer. So I realized that especially when I started waking up here, because I have more time to think about my thoughts. I'm talking to you guys, whoever you are, if you are out there. And I realized the side effect of that is allowing me to really break through some of the cobwebs in my head that I haven't had time to get to. You know how sometimes you clean your house and you're just cleaning the main streets, you don't have time for the side streets, and then, you know, like you do your spring cleaning or your fall cleaning, and then you get into like the deep parts of your house and there's like lots of cobwebs, and you didn't really necessarily have time to get to those spots, because, well, life is the way it is. You need to do the main things that doesn't allow your house to fall apart and the wheels keep turning. But as long as the wheels are on, you're good to go. You can get to where you're going, that kind of thing. So while I was in the South, I started listening to like Noam Chomsky. I started listening to talks about food. I started listening to food and obesity. People were getting obese. I was having problems with my stomach, and I think that that's where it really started. And also my son, all of a sudden, after his one treatment, which I will not mention, but maybe I'll put it on the screen. One treatment, he was 3 years old, he started digressing. And I started throwing myself, because then he got diagnosed with autism. You know where this is going, read between the lines. So I started now reading books, and I started finding that none of the books really had too much. I started getting into the diet portion, and I started realizing, going down that rabbit hole, that diet has a lot to do with gut health. Gut health has a lot to do with brain health. And this bone's connected to the next bone bone's connected to the next bone, and I started realizing, wait a minute, there's something to this. So then I started reading books on autism. There was a few books that I started reading, and I just didn't really get too much from them. But then I started reading some of the books of the doctors that were being blacklisted. And those doctors started saying what was to me at that point a normie. I was just like still very much indoctrination camp. I just got out of the indoctrination camp not too many years ago, and I believed a lot of what the system said, even though I was untrusting of the system. And I realized very quickly that these guys that were blacklisted, these doctors, they were onto something that made sense to me. They pointed to something that I inherently or intuitively knew was true. Cannot help you. You guys are going to be in the sunshine. I knew intuitively that this must be true because this was my experience. So the first doctor, then another doctor that I read their books about, how things are linked and how things are done and why they're done. So it started out with doctors. I was literally just following doctors. That led me to like Noam Chomsky. Those are just the beginnings. And I don't listen to that man anymore. He's still vanilla. And I don't know where you guys are. And then Howard Zinn. I started going to these little bookshops where they would have books that I couldn't find in regular bookstores. And I started reading some of those. Now, I did start to read much more at that point because I was really searching for the truth. Well, then my brother and my family went through a really devastating time where my dad lost his business. And again, it was one of those things where when you trust the system, you get screwed, but you get screwed in such an eloquent way that you can't really wrap your head around what happened, right? It's kind of like when you're being micro-poisoned, like if you have one of those psycho parents that are giving you food with micro-poisoning in it, and I just can't. And you can't connect the dots because it's not hurting you after every single meal, but you are getting incrementally sick. So you can't really necessarily, and because you can't stop eating, right? It's kind of the same thing. So I literally started diving into that. Then I started watching like Democracy Now! And I started realizing, okay, there's something terribly wrong. There's something terribly wrong. And I started alerting people. And this is when I started to wake up in the desert. And I started realizing that nobody, and I mean practically nobody from my circle of friends, was interested in getting shaken, into sort of looking in other directions. Nobody, and this was still like the internet was much better than in the early 90s. So this is in the late 90s, early 2000s by the time that I finally discovered Alan Watt. And I actually discovered him through my brother, because when my family went through, when my dad lost the business, it was a devastating time. It was just devastating. And sometimes when you're in a really terrible position, you start looking for the why. And when you're constantly chasing a carrot, and the carrot, you don't reach the carrot, you don't bite the carrot, and the carrot is constantly sort of, in appearances anyway, you're gaining something. For example, you're working and you're gaining money, and you're able to buy that fridge, and you're able to sort of pay for your vacation. You're satisfied. You think you're successful. You're not looking for why. You've been subdued. You've been disarmed. But when shit falls apart, you start looking. Like in my case, something was not right with my son. In my case, something was terribly wrong, and it happened to me because I know that he was fine for the first 3 years because I was late. And then with my direct family, when my dad lost his business, we started all, going, shit's not right. Like, we did everything that we thought right. We followed the rules. We did what we were allegedly supposed to. And yet, what happened? What the hell happened? So, and then I remember I listened to Alex Jones. Wow, that's that guy. That guy is a pipe piper, and oh my gosh, there's like this open barn, and now it's falling apart. You can see now it's falling apart. I should take a video of it. And the pipe piper, I stopped listening to him after my brother found Alan Watt. And Alan Watt is this person that started really, when someone says something that you've been searching for, but you don't know that you've been searching for that? I don't know, maybe you haven't had that happen to you yet. But I hope that it happens, and I hope it happens worldwide. And I started listening to Alan, and from Cutting Through the Matrix, just in case you are looking to check him out. And I started realizing that there's no way that what he's saying isn't true. So I started checking. Like, when he would say something, he would post on his website, he would post the material that supported it, the documentation, whether it was from a book, whether it was from a document, whether it, all source materials he posted. If it was like a news article, if it was a news piece. And I started realizing that the more, and so then what happened was I was waking up, what I realized, I was waking up from the matrix that has been built around my eyes, and I started realizing I was pulling back the curtain. And at first, I do have to admit, it was shocking because I couldn't believe that this could be such a big lie, that we could actually, as a human species, be tricked into believing such a big lie. Kind of like when you're watching, I would argue, the documentary The Matrix. He couldn't believe when he finally woke up. He could not fathom that this was actually the reality, and that he had believed such a lie, that it was such an intricate lie that there was no way that he could have seen the truth unless he had help. And he did have help. And so for me, Alan was that gateway, just like Morpheus was for Neo. All right, so then when I started to see the truth around me, and it felt real, it was real gritty, and there was real traction, and you could really start seeing things around you, I got excited. And I thought to myself, oh my gosh, I have to spread the word. Everybody should know this. And that's when the journey to here began. And the reason why is I looked around, and anybody, and I mean anybody I started bringing this to, got agitated, literally got aggressive. I've had people be aggressive with me. I would be politely shunned, in the sense that most people didn't want to engage with me because they'd be like, oh, you're the conspiracy theorist, right? And I started seeing that people, just like in The Matrix, I'm telling you, this is a documentary. Just give me a second to really just bring the point home. Everybody defends the system, even though it's to their detriment. And it doesn't matter if I'm trying to shine the light on the truth. Nobody wants to look at the truth because it will shatter their current state of being, their identity. It somehow is identity based. Like it's to a point where people are so afraid to look at the truth because of what might happen to their life if they see it. So I started realizing that there was a sense of loneliness. I had to start. It took me years. It was not until Operation C that I stopped finally. I just really, with my absolute dearest friends, like the ones like my best friend or my sunshine friend, and I really think that really just about covers it. Really, that's sad, I know, but I love all my friends that I've had for years, and I don't want to devalue the fact that I can't talk to them about any of these things besides my best friend and my sunshine friend. Really, I think that's about it. I'm pretty sure. I might be forgetting somebody, but honestly, outside, and I used to be a social butterfly. I had so many friends. I can't talk to them. And I realized that I could be amongst all 30 or 40 of my friends, like my close friends that we would party with, and I could not utter anything about anything that I felt that I was uncovering myself, because it's a conversation killer. It's a conversation killer, honestly. So that's, I think, finally when my husband got on board, when my husband started realizing, holy crap, like, especially during Operation C, that's when my husband really fully came onto the deck of the ship when Operation C happened. And ever since then, it's been smooth sailing. But I will tell you, and my sunshine friend finally came onto the ship. And I had said to my husband, look, we're really alone. We really are alone. And is there really any point in staying here? You know, we can't grow our own food. Like, we had contraband chickens. Like, guys, like, do you understand contraband chickens? I wasn't allowed to have my chickens, but of course, you know, again, there's no real reason why, when I had a property that I could have chickens, why I couldn't have chickens. There was no real reason. Okay, yeah, there was such a thing as called a bylaw, which is just another way of saying because it's in the curriculum. I had chickens because I wanted to prep myself for this very journey that I'm on. Kind of like, if nothing comes out of these YouTube talks with you guys and nobody really has any interest and I have to move on, hopefully I build certain skills while I'm on this journey to be able to take to my next journey, whatever that may be. I'm open to having a journey in my life, because that's what life's about learning, about trying things on. You know, that's what fashion is predicated on. It's not about functionality. I mean, you don't buy 45 different kinds of pairs of shoes because, you know, of a utilitarian reason. You buy it because red shoes go with black, you know, and white and red outfits, and blue shoes go with, you know, blue outfits or white outfits or whatever. They have different functions, but they're not really functions, right? They're just adventures. And most people that don't have a lot of money have less shoes. Shoes are a requirement, but having 45 different kinds of shoes are not. And I do think that, you know, survival is imperative, and it's first and foremost. That is true. However, if you can survive while you thrive, that is really, for me, the ultimate way to live. And that brings me back to survival in a society that isn't willing to, like, I was surviving in the South, and I do enjoy the South, and I love going back there. But I feel that being here, I am physically alone, and I am emotionally, and I guess, what's the word? My faculties are alone. Like, I was alone. How do I say this? See, I didn't really think it through. But when I'm alone now. I'm really alone. I'm with my family. I am physically, like, basically in this, like, I mean, I literally have like acres and acres between me and my neighbor, between the town and my neighbor, and I'm alone. So I actually don't feel so alone anymore, because I am alone. I don't know how to explain this, but when I was in the South, I was surrounded with people that I was separate from. So I was alone on an island, surrounded by crowds, and I did not like the way that felt, because I felt like I was the oddball. I was the chicken. I was my chicken. I was the different one. This chicken was a different one, because this chicken was broody. She became broody. She wanted to have a baby. We weren't going to have a rooster. I mean, we had like contraband chickens. We didn't really want to, put an alarm on them. And so she wanted to have babies. And because of that, the other chickens who didn't want to have babies were attacking her. And I kind of felt like a broody chicken in my circumstance. And so as I started waking up further, I started realizing about 3-4 years ago that there's absolutely no reason for me to open my mouth to people that are not ready to want to make the choice to start waking up to the truths of the world around us. Now, this may be completely off the rocker for you guys as to what I'm saying, but this is how I feel. And honestly, people like Last American Vagabond, Catherine Austin Fitz, Max from a crow's house, I think it's a crow's house. There's like the Dollar Vigilante. He sees a lot of things. I'm not a big fan of him because he's such a, like, I totally think he's a narcissist, which is probably why he's so successful. But there's a movement of people that are really shedding light on this, like really shedding light. You know, Tucker Carlson does a good job. If you're like, there's 3 camps. There's the camp number 1, where you live in the Matrix. Camp number 2, where, okay, you realize something's not right, so you are seeking out information, and that's like Tucker Carlson. Joe Rogan even has some people that are, you know, that come, you know, that can be helpful to bring you. And then finally, there's camp 3, when you start seeing the Matrix as it is, not as you believe it to be or as they sell it to you. So that's been my journey. And then when we finally decided to move up here, I really hope it's the best thing that I've decided to do, and I hope that it's the evolution of my waking up to what's going on, because I feel that I have the space, and I mean in the mind, and I mean physically, to really contemplate what's going on, how I feel about it, what I'm going to do about it, how I'm going to deal with it. And it's not as scary, like, you know, when everybody is in a frenzy and there's like so many people and everybody's repeating the same parroted news. Oh, we're gonna, like, okay, for example, we were supposed to get 60 centimeters of snow yesterday, and for 2 days, nothing else on the internet about anything else except, oh, we're gonna have so much snow. There's so many reports on we're gonna have so much snow. We're gonna have this. We're gonna have that. Everybody was getting fear factored, and guess what? You know how many centimeters we got? 5. We got 5. But when you're in the city, the frothing of the said milk, which is like the information is the milk, and the frothing is the constant reverberation, repeating constant over, and then you tell your friend tells your friend, your other friend, and you're frothing, making it bigger deal than it is, and everybody's getting caught up in it. That's what I don't miss. I don't miss that, because when you're in the middle of the sticks, you can listen to what is being said, and then you can think, now does that seem realistic? Does that seem true? Anyway, I'm not sure if I covered everything, but I have one thing before I sign off. Let me get over this hump because I don't want to get stuck. And then I'm going to read you an excerpt of this book that I'm going to park here. Oh my God, it's just so damn gorgeous. So damn gorgeous. Wait, I gotta a little further because I'm at the top of the hill. Somebody's gonna come and freaking park in my ass. All right, let me read you something. I want to read you something that I think is super important. Okay, wait, I gotta readjust my eyes because, like, I just can't I can't read with those because they're not prescription. Okay, I want to read you this. Okay, what do you think? All right, this was from like 1954, and it was discussed at the Bilderberg group. Okay, so let me read it to you. Although the so-called moral issues were raised at this meeting, in view of the law of natural selection, it is agreed that a nation or world of people who will not use their intelligence are no better than animals who do not have intelligence. Think about that. Such people are beasts of burden and stakes on the table by choice and consent. It was decided to privately wage a quiet war against the public with an ultimate objective of primarily shifting the natural and social energy, which is the wealth, of the undisciplined and irresponsible many into the hands of the self-disciplined, responsible, and worthy few. Okay. And that's that, ladies and gentlemen. I should not even worry about changing my glasses. I want to thank you so much if you made it to this far. I mean, it was a long talk, I know. But I wanted to share that with you. My journey is going to be different than everybody else's journey. But ultimately, if you're on a journey of empowering yourself, knowledge is power, because with the knowledge, you can make decisions that help you. And with the complete intent of trying to grow this as something substantial, you know, for me to be able to continue doing it, I want you to look at that button below. You know that one, the one that I always talk about now, the one that's black. And I still have to remember, I have to get an idea as to what shape that is. Oblong. Anyway, you know, the one that says subscribe. If you wouldn't mind so much, and press it. And then there's that little bell notification, so then if another one of my meanderings happens to come up Monday and Thursday, maybe it'll just remind you that maybe you want to take a look at it. And a thumbs up. It's free of charge. Anyways, have a beautiful day. I want to show you. Just wait. Have a beautiful day. First, I'm going to say goodbye, and then I'm going to pan over and show you this beautiful landscape.